James Cleverly, having dominated the news last night, is now off to Rwanda, will dominate the news again today, and then probably give way for Boris Johnson to dominate the news for the rest of the week while he gives his evidence to the COVID inquiry. So James Cleverly has to squeeze himself in to keep in the headlines. And so today he will be in Kigali, and he will establish that it's a safe country, that Rwanda's a safe country. He'll meet his counterparts. He will sign some sort of treaty. Now, there are three big questions that follow. Number one is, will the treaty be sufficient? So Rwanda already has a history of failing. It has a demonstrable history of failing with a similar agreement that it made with Israel and fell foul of refoulement. And in addition, there's the history of Rwanda killing refugees from neighboring states that it was tasked with looking after. And it killed those refugees, it shot them because they were protesting about not being given enough food while they were detained. So actually, exactly their responsibilities. They failed in their responsibilities, and their response was to shoot the people who were protesting. This was in 2018. There was apparently an investigation. It's never been made public. Nobody can actually read the documentation that was allegedly drawn up following that shooting. And there were two shootings, incidentally, and two instances of people being killed. There's also the tradition that Rwanda's got of assassinating people who are politically inconvenient, or indeed of getting people off planes, diverting planes, putting their political opponents in prison. So Rwanda has a dodgy track record, and even if the basic principle of non-refoulement is dealt with, there's still these other issues about whether or not Rwanda is a safe country. And even if the government can sign a treaty, which is simply a sort of gold-plated promise, there is no guarantee that promise will be kept. More than that, it's very expensive. Is there enough time to sort this out before the next election? Well, in principle, the next election can be anything up to a year in advance. We could be thinking of an election as late as this time next year. We go into election purdah. But I think it's unlikely to be that long, partly because as we get into next summer, there might be an enormous wave of small boats, which scuppers Rishi Sunak's plan to have dealt with the small boats. That is simply something that is not really in his control because of the failure to put in practice some sort of replacement for Dublin 3. All he's got is threats, sort of fist waving, and Rwanda is the biggest fist wave that has been presented so far, and it's a fist wave that I think is inadequate. So even if Rwanda were to work in time, even if a flight were to take off, which is the next big question, is there time to do that? If all the boxes are ticked, maybe a flight could take off by March or April. But would that be enough to deter migrants from coming in the next wave next summer? I think the answer to that is no. I think whatever happens next summer, there will be a rush of migrants coming across the channel, and so there are big questions underpinning the Rwanda deal. Is it better to do a deal with somebody else? Well, that really is the whole issue of throwing good money after bad. So much money has been invested in the Rwanda project that even to get one flight off could be construed by the supporters of Rishi Sunak as a wise investment. To get nothing out of it at all can look like a waste of money. Now, that could be blamed on Priti Patel. It could be blamed on Suella Braverman. But Rishi Sunak has linked his reputation to the success of the Rwanda project, which is a very stupid thing to do. But it's becoming immensely evident that Rishi Sunak, one of the most intelligent prime ministers that we have had since Harold Wilson, is monumentally stupid when it comes to practicalities and to politics. But that's partly due to his lack of experience.